Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We are very excited to have you join us from all different time zones for our first session of the Open Building Designer live series. As you may be aware, Open Buildings Designer is Bentley's multidisciplinary building information modeling or BIM tool for architectural, structural, mechanical, plumbing, and electrical design. This live series, with its curated content, aims to put all new and potential users on a fast track to unleashing the potential of BIM in their design workflow. I'm Meenakshi, your host for today's session. I'm a product consultant for Open Buildings Designer, or OBD as we like to call it. Joining me is our main presenter, Kasia Wosowicz, and our backup presenter, Alan Sujai. Kasia is based out of Poland. She's an architect with international experience in design. Joining Bentley as an application engineer, she focuses on functionalities of our BIM application, Open Buildings Designer. She provides support and training to users in 3 languages. Our backup speaker for today, Alan, she's based out of Singapore. She has been involved in Open Buildings Designer, working on a multitude of cross-disciplinary projects and supporting our users. Here are email IDs. You can email us and request for the 21-day trial version. We will also be posting the link to the trial version on our LinkedIn event page. So stay tuned to that. As this is our first session and it's talking about starting our journey with open buildings and creating a very basic building from scratch, Kasia will cover the following topics, demonstrating on the complete BIM model of the famous Farnsworth house by Mies van der Rohe. She'll be talking about the federated approach, how this approach can ease up the coordination between different team members and different disciplines, the floor selector and grid system, the basics of setting up the skeleton of any project, and she'll be talking about the multidisciplinary modeling tools for architecture, structural, mechanical, and electrical. She'll also be showing us why she recommends having different files for creating drawings. And lastly, she'll be showing us Luminart, how to easily create visualization in OBD's companion app. Let me hand over the session to Kasia and we can get started. Should you have any questions, please do type them out in the comments section. We will be taking questions at the end of the session, and if we run out of time, we will reach out and get back to you on the questions. So, Kasia, could you please tell us more about this project?
Thank you, Meenakshi, and hello, everyone. Of course, so for sure, many of you know the Farnsworth house designed by this German architect, Mies van der Rohe. So we decided to reproduce this famous and quite small building to create this the guide that you can see now in the screen on our YouTube channel. Uh, we reproduced every step and recorded it, so you can see everything there. We decided to, even if we have many other materials showing us how to use open buildings, we thought that for every new user, it will be a very nice opportunity to create your own full building out of scratch, out of nothing, and going through all the process of design and in the end preparing all the documentation. So that's how we can learn all the process. That's how you can see how many tools work. So we start from the first steps from installing the application, preparing the environment of the project, and then through all the disciplines, and in the end preparing documentation, the reports, drawings, IFC, and COBI files, and in the end, visualizations. So all that is in this guide. You can find it on Bentley Open Buildings YouTube channel. It's the first one, the first playlist on our page. So we encourage you to have a look there. And instead today, because every step is recorded in that guide, instead today I'm going to focus more on the basic workflow and the general ideas and tools that we need to create any project, not only this Farnsworth house, of course. So that's the general idea about this Farnsworth house recreation.
Sure. Sure. So the Farnsworth House model has been prepared according to Open Buildings federated approach. Could you explain us what the federated approach means and why it was used in the model? Why is it useful for coordination between the different users and disciplines?
Sure. So now in the screen you can see the full building of the Farnsworth house. That's what we call a master file. it means it was prepared using other smaller working models of each discipline in this case. And that's how the federated approach works. So we first prepare other files. So through first we work in separate files. For example, a designer for the architecture, for the structure, and for the mechanical installation. They all work separately, and then we connect all the disciplines together through the references. So this dialog here with the references file, we can notice there are 3 files attached for different disciplines, and I can see them all in this master file, but they are not the working models. I can just show, I can, in this reference file, I can manage the display, I can attach new files, or I can detach the existing ones. For now, I can show, for example, I can switch off the display of the architecture and then the structure, and you can see there is only our mechanical model there. So all disciplines in one master file. And then why we do that? It's very useful for the cooperation between designers, because of course, the bigger the project is, the more useful the federated approach gets. Because, for example, if it was a very much bigger building with more elements, and all designers would work at the same file, it could be difficult working. And also for the files, they get much smaller. It's easier to also for the program to load and so on. So also in the workflow process, let's assume I'm a mechanical designer. I'll go to the mechanical file. This is the working model for the mechanical. So this that's how the mechanical designer worked. First, I received a model from the architect, and because of course I had to have some reference walls and thickness, space in general, to be aware of how much space I have to design the installation. So first step was connecting architectural reference. So let me attach it now, and only then I could start designing. And you can see here that it was I could be able to put the mechanical installation in the walls, and also the fixture for the bathroom. And another useful case when we can use federated approach is, for example, in skyscrapers on other bigger projects where we have repetitive typical floors. For example, we only need then to prepare one typical floor, and then we can attach it many times in a master file. And then if we need to change something there, we can simply modify one file, and then all the references get updated. And then, of course, during the process of design, there are many changes sometimes in the project. So what happens if one of the designers need to change something? So I have another file for the structural designer. You can see the structure of the building with the columns, with the frame. And let's assume I need to modify something. Maybe I need the wall building to be wider. So of course I need to change the construction, but let's just move one of the elements for now. So I will just move one of the columns maybe. Of course, it could be also changing the section. It could be any change in the model. Let me move it by 500 millimeters. So it is a bit moved. And then if I go back to our combined model, let me go back from the architecture to our combined model, and you can see that the change was already applied. And if I was a different designer, and let me let me move the column back just to show any other change. And then I will go back to the combined model, which is the master model. And I am a different designer. I have the file open. I'm working on that. And in the references dialog, I can now see this notification in the status bar. This little pencil. It says that the file has been changed, and we can reload it now. And if I accept this change, the column gets moved again. So as you can see, I can monitor all the changes. I can simply accept them, and then my file gets updated. So that's the general idea for the federated approach. That's how it makes the cooperation easier. Of course, also being the project manager, I can also change something in the master file. All I need to do is activate the references for the moment. So for example, with the right click, I can activate one of the disciplines, and it will simply become an active file for a moment, the working model, and it will deactivate other um, references. And then if I make a change, again, it will work the same. It will get updated in other files. So for example, for the structural designer. That's why the federated approach is so useful. It's the cooperation is much easier.
Oh, okay. So could you show us what would be the first step in setting up a project, the very first step in setting up your, or for the different disciplines?
Yeah, so first step would be always setting up a grid system and the floor manager. These two elements are really important during our work on a project. It also makes the work much easier because we get first the structural grid. So here in the screen below, I can switch on the grid systems where we prepare the structural grid. And the structural grid is not only useful typically like in every project, so of course for the drawing documentation and just as a normal grid in a project, but we can also use it for the placement of many elements. For example, structural columns. We can place all the columns with just one click using the placement by grid. So it will place automatically the columns at every intersection of the grid. So here is where we can create the grid. It's already created here, but we can also have other types of the grids, or orthogonal, radial, or created by sketch by us. And of course, we can set here the distances and spacing between the grid lines, both for the horizontal and vertical direction. And if we modify something, if we set it up for a project, it's the same grid, of course, for every file in our work set. So our project folder containing all the design files, the DGN files, and other project files. So once we have the grid set up, we need to prepare the floors structure for the building. So just near the grid system manager, we have the floor manager. And this is where we set up all the structure, the vertical structure of the building, so that the program understands how our building is located in this vertical direction, in the Z direction. So we can add in one of the sites, we can add more than one building. If it was a bigger project with more buildings, we could add another one, and we could create the floor structure for all of them. And in our case, we have this ground level, lower terrace, upper terrace, and roof. So those levels, as it's a small building, we didn't need to create floor one, floor two, and the roof level, and so on. And again, if I change something in here, I could find these changes in all the files in the workset. And if I made the changes, I would apply, and it would be the same in all the files. And once we have both the floor structure, we have the building grid, we can start using floor selector. So floor selector is based on what we set in the floor manager. So now let me choose one of the floors. You can now see that the grid displays on the right floor, the floor that I chose. So the ground floor. And we can also I can also switch off this additional grid in the view attributes here, just to make it more visible, just our structural grid that we created. And when we change the level in the flow selector, the grid is moving according to what we selected. Here in the upper truss, it's not that, it's almost in the same place. So let me choose this one, and you can see the active plane went to other floor. So it's useful also because when we want to place something on the right level, all the elements will get locked at this level. So for example, I can use now one of the, let's say I will create a wall, and my active floor now is this roof. So let's see what happens if I just draw anywhere now in the drawing. It will be easier to see it in the in the front view. It got placed exactly in this active plane. And if I change it to the ground level, for example, again, I just draw anywhere in the building and it's locked, it snaps to that active plane at the ground level. Of course, there are situations when we maybe want to snap one of the elements to other element that is existing in a project and it doesn't correspond with any level, then we can use the locks here. It's the ACS plane lock and the ACS plane snap lock, and then I can snap to one of the elements. As you can see, now it's not at the roof level, I'm snapping to the element, unlocking this feature to lock to the active plane. So I can remove the walls now. That's why it's useful, because sometimes it can happen that we lost one of the elements somewhere in the file. It doesn't happen if we have this floor selector option. So that's why we should start with that, and that's what I would start with the project with the grid and the floor selector setting.
Okay, great. Like you said, the BIM model includes all the different disciplines. How do you switch between the model elements of the different disciplines in Open Buildings Designer? For example, can a mechanical engineer, does he have access to all your structural modeling elements, and how do you filter that?
Yes, so the tool is for all the discipline designers. We can find everything in one place for architectural, structural, and mechanical designers. So we have different workflows. You can see in the interface here in the upper part, we have workflows for different design types. First one is building design, and that's where we find the architectural and structural tools. So you can see wall, door, window, roof, and for the structural are the beams and columns and bracing and other structural elements. If we change the workflow to building systems design, we can now find the mechanical, plumbing, and electrical disciplines. So ducts, pipes, and for the electrical, the separate BBS system for our electrical design. And if we move further, we can see drawing tools, and then the drawing is for the 2D drawing tools, so simple CAD tools when we want to work on a 2D files. Then general tab where we can see just general tools for a bit of everything, so drawing tools and attaching references and so on. And then modeling, so it's for 3D modeling. Let me show it as well. Um, so we have here the curves and solids, all the 3D modeling tools that we need that we can then convert into BIM models, but here they are simple 3D tools with also surfaces and meshes and tools for the to modify those forms. And in the end, the visualization workflow where we can prepare animations and visualizations. And we also have the Luminart companion application access from here. It's the application that we install during the installation of OpenBuildings. We just need to tick the box that we want this tool. So let me show just to show that OpenBuildings works more or less the same for every tool. It's quite simple. We always have and this property panel, the place component tool dialog box. So first we set some settings for the element in this dialog box, and then some placement settings for the placement inside the file. It got blocked for a moment. Let me wait for that. So in the dialog box, we can set the section for example, for this column. First, we can change the column for any other type. And we can use our library and search for the section we need. We can set some IDs that maybe we will need for the general identification of the elements, for the reports, to prepare them for the building phase, and some notes, fire resistance data, and any other things that we want to add, and the code the information for this element. So this is the first step always for the majority of the tools, and then the displacement tabs that appear in the ribbon tab when we select the element, where we can set the placement point, where we can set the offsets, the rotation, and some automatic coping, for example, for the column. It's how it works. And then, of course, we remember about the floor selector, so about choosing the right level where we want to place the element, and that we can snap to other elements. So that's another tool that we can find here below, default snaps, and snaps that we can change during the design process, depending on where we want to snap the element, and also the structural snaps here that allow us to snap, for example, to the center of the structural element. So, for example, to the other column, or to the beam, or to foundation. And the very useful thing is also this prompt bar here next to the status bar. It tells us always what we need to do to follow with the command we chose. So enter data point to place member. So I simply need to enter the data point, which means just click anywhere, and then the element will be placed. So that's it's always worth, if we don't know how the tool works, it's always worth looking at this status bar that will tell us what to do. So I can now delete this column. And maybe as an example, I can also show maybe the wall tool, just to show that there are always some different settings, for example, for the placement, but the general idea is the same. We have a look at the place wall dialog box. We set the data we want it to contain, and then we go to the placement tab where we set, for example, the placement method. So we can place the wall by line, but also by arc, curve, or grid, as I mentioned. So just using the grid, the structural grid for the building that we set, and then from element or from architectural space that we set in the architectural tab. So that's the general idea. So yes, we have access to every tool, and there's only one tool for different discipline designers, and the tools work in a similar way. So it's quite easy to learn it.
Okay, some useful tips there. Um, so in the YouTube guide, I noticed that you created two separate files for the model. Could you tell us why is that important in the workflow when you're creating your drawings?
Yeah, we prepare those two drawing files when preparing the drawing documentation. Let me go to the drawing production tab now, just to show how it works in general. So we have different types of drawing creation, but now I'm just going to click any type. So in this drawing created by floor, I would just select one of the floors, and if I click anywhere in the view, the drawing will be prepared for creation. So first we need to set if we want to create this both drawing model and the sheet model. So we can decide if you want to create both of them, but it's very useful because, and now if I click the OK, the drawings would be created, but as I have them ready, I will just quickly move to one of them, maybe the architectural plan. So I'm moving to the drawing file, which is the first one we work on after the creation. So what we can see, here we have a 2D drawing, and this 2D drawing is the saved view of our BIM model. So anytime we change something, it can be updated simply in this drawing file. And here is where we add additional dimensions or nodes. Here we have additional tab for the drawing tools, and we use these tools to modify this file. So I already placed many dimensions, and you can also use this file to add additional notes. You can place text, or maybe you want to draw something to note an important part of the building, or just add description or a title. So I can set additional title. For example, I can decide about the size of this text, and the style and so on. I can make it bigger, or it can serve us as a note, so I can just place it anywhere in the drawing. And then it's also useful mentioning that we always recognize this drawing file because of this dark gray background. And then when we have it set with the dimensions, the nodes, we can move to the sheet file. There are always those markers here. They are there unless we switch off the display of them. We can control it also from the attributes window. So we have those navigation markers. We simply need to switch between the drawings, and then we can open the right file. Yeah, let me go back there. I mistook with the click. So we can access this through the navigation marker, or we can, of course, search it in the in our folder for the design for the project. Okay, I will now open this white icon option, and that's our sheet file. So here we find the same. We find our drawing with all the dimensions, but also the drawing table and all the paper that we're going to print on, or that we're going to export our project on. So that's what it's for, to make the drawing creation a little bit more organized. We have a separate window for all the drawing elements or for the additional making of the drawings. And then this file is the final one where we prepare our table and the building information for the that should be on the sheet in that documentation. So that's what it's for.
Okay, that's super helpful. So now that we've gone through how to do the 2D drawing production, how about the presentation views like the renderings and the animations?
Yes, so as I mentioned, we have the, let me go back to the master file. We have the separate workflow for the images, for the visualizations, and for the animations. So I will again switch there. Let's just the program load. So we have this last tab here, and we can use some of the OBD tools, Open Buildings tools from the ribbon tab. But also at the end we have this Luminart, and that's the application we used for the visualization for this project. So if I click it, all the project will be exported there, and I can start working on the visualization. So my file, you will see it's already it was already with the progress, but when we first export our building, it's in maybe different terrain that we would like it to be. So we can set the terrain to be as much similar as possible. So I already set the grass and the greenery, but let's see how it works in general. So as you can see, the interface of Luminart is really simple and intuitive, in my opinion. And on the left, we have all the tools that we need, and we can, for example, decide about the lighting environment and, for example, about the layers that we want to be shown in the image or in the animation. So I can decide about switching off maybe the glass of the building, or maybe some layers that I prepared thinking about the drawings and not about the final visualization. So I have this, you can see that the green surface appears on the deck of the building, and these are my spaces, architectural spaces that served me only for the drawing documentation for the architecture. So I don't need them, and I can switch it off in this tool. I can then set the sun and atmosphere settings. So for now, I have the season is so that it doesn't let my trees grow the leaves. So maybe I want it to be a little bit later in the year, and I want to change the it for the autumn or the spring. So I can decide about that. I can decide about the position of the sun, so the sun exposure during different hours of the day. You can change. You can see the time changing in the middle of the screen. So I can decide at what time of the day I want to show it. I can set the date to other one. I can also decide about the position of the location regarding north, and then the weather. I can decide if I want my sky to be blue or with the clouds, or I can decide about the clouds, the speed of the clouds, or about the winds in the plants or the birds to appear. Let's switch on the birds. They should be flying somewhere there, maybe behind the trees. And then, oh yeah, they're appearing there a little bit higher. Here, we also have some tips regarding how we should move inside the project. So I can look around with just clicks of my mouse, or I can do the orbit with pressing the Alt, so it will move in a different way. And then going further, I mentioned the terrain, so we can load totally new terrain. I chose the distant mountains, but we have library with other types of environment. We can also form it ourselves. We can paint the grass. We can decide about many things, and then place a lot of plants. We have a very rich library for that, for different uh, places in the world. So depending on the zone, the climate zone, we can place the people. As you say, as you can see, I have some of them placed. They can walk, they can stand, they can be in a group or not. We also have those animals. We have also some people relaxed, sitting. Depends on what we want to show in the project. Also, we can add the vehicle, different types, also the boats, and then some elements that maybe you want to place in interior visualization. So again, some more elements to place. And when we are ready with all the settings, with we can see you can see what I did for that project. So I only need to prepare the project for the visualization that I want to make. So I only needed a little bit of forest, and that's how it looks at the end. And when we want to finally create the image or the animation, for the animation we can simply click the camera icon. So let me go closer, and if I click, the photo will be taken, and it will be automatically saved in the directory that I choose. In my case, it's a desktop. I can show it in a second. And if we want to create a video animation, we just need to select the movie editor, and it's also quite intuitive. We can change the position of the camera just going in the model and taking a photo of that, and it will be added to our path of the building. So that's for the animation, and let me see the photo that was taken. It should be on my desktop here, and it's ready. And of course we can set the resolution that we want to get, and the general quality for the purpose of for this session. It's quite small, just to make it really fast, but we can set it as we prefer. So that's for the animation.
Great. So thank you for that. We'll just take some questions. But before the questions, I've been looking at the questions, and Alan and a few of our Bentley colleagues have been answering some of your questions. So let me just, I think one of the popular questions, I'm just going to share my screen. Give me a second. So everybody would like to know where is the YouTube channel for Open Buildings Designer. I'm just sharing links here, and we've also posted the link on the comments section. So actually, I would like to direct everybody to two websites where we do have high quality content for Open Buildings Designer. One is our on-demand webinar sessions, which are more specific to certain topics. Like for example, we have a webinar for station design, and another one, it's a series for station design only, and another one for water reclamation plant. So if you click on that link, just feel free to explore. These are all on demand webinars that have already that have already taken place, and you can just look through those and sign up for new ones. You can email us and we can sign you up for any new webinars coming up. And the second one is our YouTube channel, which has a number of these playlists for different disciplines and different tutorials, like the one Kashia just showed us in the beginning. So that's all there in the YouTube channel. We've been focusing a lot on creating high quality content, which allows you to self learn Open Buildings Designer. And so a few questions, Kashia, for example, John asked if the grids and levels also work when you're cutting sections. Let me share your screen meanwhile.
Okay. Can you repeat?
Yeah,
Does grid
sure.
and
Yeah.
levels? I can
Do
see it.
grids, yeah, grids
Oh,
and
sorry,
levels
when
also
cut.
work when cutting the section? Do you see them in the
Uh,
section?
yes. Yeah, we can see the levels. Let me go out of the Luminart T. Yes, we can see. Also, let's see the ready drawing that we prepared for the section. Uh, so of course we won't see the grid as we would see it on the plan, but we have. One second, it's maybe not that. Let me see the sheet file. So I can go to the right folder and go to this ready section. I updated my model, that's why it's different. But yeah, automatically we get the levels written on the side of the building. So that's how the grid appears. It just shows the levels for the drawing. I can create it now. I hope it won't take too much time, but it's just to say that yes, it works. But if that's what you mean, of course, in this question. But of course, if you create a section of all the building, you won't create it for. You can create it for one floor as well, but yeah, the program always remembers the whole structure of the building and the grid system, but of course we cannot display it in the drawing normally, so it just shows those levels that typically show up in the drawing. I can go to the architectural file and maybe try creating it quickly, but meantime you can ask another questions,
Okay.
Manakshi, and
Okay, I'm just
maybe
going
we'll
to
do it in the
ask and
background.
answer. Okay, sure. I'm going to ask and quickly answer it as well. So Kristaps would like to know about the IFC export settings. So we will be covering that in another session. So stay tuned for that. And meanwhile, I think Eduardo's posted in the comments the YouTube tutorial for the IFC export. Just more information on the IFC export settings. So please take a look at that. And if there are any questions, do feel free to email any of us, and we could share more about that. And
Yes, but also if I
yeah,
can add,
sure.
also for this guide on YouTube, there is a section regarding IFC and Kobe for exactly this building. So you can have a look there as well in the later part of the guide. And we also showed how to prepare it for the export.
Great. Okay. And Pramod is asking, is it live on YouTube? No, it's not live on YouTube, but we will be posting a recording, and so if you go to our LinkedIn events page, we will be posting all these links on the LinkedIn events page, and perhaps for the next session, it will be live on YouTube as well. Just looking through the questions. So I hope, Simon, it's working for you now. I know your screen was frozen earlier. Um, okay. So a quick one for you. Is Luminart Pro included in the software, or it is a separate add-on?
It's included in the software. You only need to tick it when installing the application. It's also, I can maybe show it on YouTube here. Also, we explain how to download and install it, and there is this here is where we can select what applications we want to add. Some of them are license required and some of them are not, so Luminart can be simply installed for just by one click.
So is it the designer or the pro? Is it Luminarty designer or is it pro? The one that you can.
uh, Luminart Pro. I'm not sure if about the Pro version, so I can only now answer about the Luminart
Okay,
in general. But
sure,
we can inform ourselves about the version Pro and maybe come back with via email, right?
sure, yes. Okay, and Muralidharan has a quick question about the if I have point cloud survey, am I able to reference it to the open buildings?
Yes, as well. We have the tools to do that. We can use the point cloud as well. In open buildings. Yeah, I want to maybe present it now, but I can
Yeah,
come
sure.
back via email with more materials regarding that.
Yeah, yeah. And there's a question, and I think so. I just wanted to clarify on the Lumen RT a bit. So Lumen RT Designer is a part of this with the basic features to get you started and get you running. But Lumen RT Pro is a separate license. So I just got the reply for that. And another question by Harmeet Pal, which is already answered here, but I'll just bring it up for the other users if you haven't seen it. Is Lumen RT compatible with Synchro? So I believe it is compatible with Synchro, and you can we can again post a link for that so you can learn more about how to use Luminarty with Synchro. I'm just looking through any other questions. um, if you have any other questions, please feel free to post it and we can get back to you now or later. And we also have our email IDs, which I can show you. Okay, are you showing something, Kashia, now?
Yeah, I just wanted to
Yeah,
show it's
yeah,
a
yeah,
little
sure.
bit not it's not that organized, but I just wanted to show that
Yeah,
automatically we get this we can call it a select floor or grid structure for a building, so
okay.
we get it automatically here. If that's what you mean, having the grid in the section. If you mean something else, of course, you can clarify what you mean. But it was just to show that we have all those levels.
Okay, great. Okay. Um, I'm just going to go back to my screen and share our email
Okay.
IDs if you want to reach out with more questions and to get more information about downloading the trial version. So again, these are the links, and we can post it on LinkedIn so you can take a look at it. Again, these are our email IDs. That's for I'm Minakshi and Kashia is the main presenter. Alan answered a lot of your comments. So just email any of us about this, and do save the date for the second session, which is on the 11th of August. It's 3 p.m. Singapore time. I try to cover all the different time zones, but if your time zone is missing here, do let us know, and you could let me know which other time zone to cover the next time. And our session 2 is going to be more about the object based modeling tools and editing and reporting using Excel. So if that's of interest to you, and if you know anybody, any of your team members, please do share this with them. We will post the LinkedIn event page for the session 2 soon on our first session LinkedIn page. Is there anything else, Kashia? Do you want to share anything else?
No, not for now. And maybe if there are other questions after the session, we can come back with the answers
Okay,
um,
sure.
via email
So
or
yeah,
somehow.
Yes. So thank you everyone for joining. This was great. I see a lot of comments, but allow us to go through the comments and reply to you in a bit. We will go through the comments, reply, and if anything, please reach out to us. Again, these are our email IDs. Please reach out, and we will get back to you at the soonest. Thank you again, and hope to see you in our second session. Thanks. Thank you, Kashia. Thank
Thank
you, Alan.
you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Manakshi.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Aline.
Thank you. See you later. Bye bye.
Bye bye.